Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Ulrich, and I'd like to talk to you about engineering and leadership. All right, so today's video, the topic is power. Now, a number of the researchers have pointed out that people are usually uncomfortable talking about power. In fact, there's one researcher, Elizabeth Moss Cantor, and she makes the observation that in our American society, about the only word that still has the power to make us blush is the word power. We can talk about almost anything else, but power is still kind of like, eh. Okay, so here's the deal. First of all, what we have to do is make a distinction. There's a difference between having power and misusing power and abusing power. So, and then second, well, what is power? Okay, so it's very simply this. Power is the ability to influence. Influence is the exercise of power. If you're a leader, you need power. Because although there is nothing even remotely like an agreed upon definition of leadership, certainly a huge percentage of the definitions have the idea of influence in their definition. My own personal definition is that leadership is a process of influence which involves communication, relationships, and vision. At any rate, power is something we need, and if we're to lead effectively, we have to understand something about power. Now, some guys named Raven and French, they came up with a model that's pretty good. Now, they actually came up with it in the 50s, and it stands today as still a pretty good explanation. And there's two broad categories of bases of power. There's personal power, and there's positional power. Now, for positional power, you have a couple of the old standbys. There's coercive power, do this or I'll fire you. There is reward power, do this and I'll give you a raise, or don't do this and I will not give you a raise, something like that. And there's also formal power, where it's something like, well, he is a vice president, we should do what he says. See, the ideas there is the people are trafficking in the realm of I'm doing what the leader wants because one way or another I perceive that I have to. Now, positional power is quite different, and there's two bases of positional power. The first is what's called referent power. That's relationship power. Now, probably there's somebody in your background, maybe a coach, maybe an old teacher, something like that, that maybe you've been out of school for 30 years, and if they called you up today and asked you for a favor, you would do it and you'd be thrilled to do it. You'd be happy to do it because it comes to this long-standing relationship. See, the nature of relationships is you want to follow the person. Now, the other kind of power that's personal like this is called expert power. Now, a lot of times you'll see people explain expert power and they'll talk about, suppose you were on some island in Indonesia or something, it's a small island, and suppose you were the only person who knew how to make canoes, and suppose there was nearby islands you needed to get to and you needed a canoe for that. The mere fact that you've got this expertise means you have a tremendous amount of power. The metaphor I like is that it's kind of like a two-engine aircraft. When you're using your personal power, you've got the one engine of relationship power, the other of expertise. And for engineers, that's critical. How do we get people to want to do what we're trying to get them to do? And that's the answer. It's relationship and it's expertise. You've got to have a relationship with your people, and you've got to be a good engineer. And here's a newsflash for you. If you're the kind of leader that relies on those other things, do it or I'll fire you, I'm not going to give you a raise unless you do it, let me be the first to give you a little hint. You're a lousy leader. And the people who work for you wish they didn't. The way you lead engineers is by relationship and by expertise. It's a twin-engine aircraft, and there's no point in flying with one or none of the engines. At any rate, I'm Dr. Tom Ulrich. I like to talk about engineering and leadership, and thank you for listening.